Long before the dawn of humanity, Lucifer attempted to overthrow God. He was cast out of heaven with such force that he flew across the galaxy, through the surface of the earth, and right into the deepest, darkest depths of hell. There, he was shortly confronted by Archangel Michael, who chained him at the neck to a large rock and used his sword as the final piece to seal his entrapment. Lucifer promised that he would return one day, stronger than ever, and not even God would be able to stop him. Over many millennia, more and more fallen angels joined Lucifer in hell to plot his revenge. Back on Earth in the present day, we see the hole through which Lucifer was cast into hell now fitted with an electronic door at its entry. Built around it is a huge temple where worshippers await his return. Laura, an art historian studying in Italy, wants to write a thesis about how the great historical Italian artist didn't really believe in angels and demons, but rather represented them as an artistic expression for the forces of good and evil. However, her professor quickly shuts her down, claiming it would be a mockery of Italy's history. When she presses further, he offers her an opportunity to discuss her thesis in private back at his place. She immediately leaves, disgusted. A while later, she meets with Father Marconi, who gives her a card that will grant her access to all the displays in the cathedral, including the recently arrived Shroud of Turin, believed to contain the blood of Jesus. The priest guides Laura through the place, showcasing various attractions, including the shroud. Later, Marconi presents their latest addition, a magnificent statue of Michael triumphing over Lucifer. They eventually part ways, allowing Laura to work on sketching the statue for her thesis. As she draws, she has a strange feeling of hearing her name being called, but eventually chalks it up to just her imagination. After a few hours, as the exhibition is about to close, a raven appears and transforms into an old woman named Liz, who joins the last group of visitors at the entrance. However, instead of following the guide, Liz ventures through a forbidden door, catching the attention of a security guard watching the cameras. Undeterred, Liz continues down a corridor lined with statues, observing Laura drawing from afar. Suddenly, Laura is startled when she notices Lucifer's head on the statue begin to move. As she scans her surroundings, a raven at the window startles her once more. While Laura is momentarily distracted, Liz seizes the opportunity to steal Michael's sword from the statue and departs. A guard mistakenly identifies Laura as the hooded person who had been separated from the group. But Laura proves she has authorized access to the area, and the guard leaves, chalking it up to a misunderstanding, before reminding her of the closing time. Gathering her belongings, Laura notices the missing sword, but believes she's just seeing things again. With the front door already locked, she proceeds to the back exit. Upon returning to the corridor, Laura is horrified to witness Liz brutally murdering the guard with the stolen sword and decapitating him. Filled with terror, Laura flees and seeks refuge in a confessional booth, which provides her a vantage point to observe Liz using the guard's eyes to deactivate the alarms and shatter the protective glass around the shroud to steal the sacred relic. In the midst of the chaos, Marconi rushes to intervene, but he becomes a victim of Liz's vicious attack, getting stabbed in the process. Liz's henchmen then arrive to safeguard the stolen shroud. Before leaving, they spot Laura in the booth, prompting Liz to order her men to apprehend her. Once the group departs, Marconi, using his last moments, prays fervently, asking Michael to possess his body to confront Lucifer without delay. Michael descends from heaven and inhabits the priest's body, pursuing Liz's group as they attempt to escape in their vehicle. Although his celestial abilities enable him to move swiftly, the human vessel struggles to endure such immense power, forcing Michael to halt to avoid causing irreparable damage. Meanwhile, a gathering of wealthy individuals watches in awe as a remarkably gifted child plays the violin with exceptional skill. Dr. Laurent later explains that this prodigy is a clone of Antonio Vivaldi, representing yet another prominent name on a long list of clones created by his company using DNA extracted from historical figures' graves. The infants are put up for auction, attracting wealthy parents eager to adopt one. Today's prized offering is a clone of Michelangelo. During the auction, Liz arrives to inform Laurent that they have successfully obtained the shroud. Soon after the group arrives at Lucifer Villa, Laurent is ecstatic because he can now proceed with his plan to clone Jesus. Meanwhile, Laura, along with Brenda and two other women, is imprisoned inside a glass cell and restrained with chains. One of the women is inconsolable, crying and shouting, but Laura employs gentle words to help restore calmness. Laura believes they should cooperate, but before they can devise a plan, a group of nurses enters the cell to check their vitals. Meanwhile, Michael returns to the cathedral and discovers other priests examining the security tapes. They are stunned to see Marconi alive, but Michael offers no explanation, and instead inquires about the protectors of the shroud. The priests explain that Cardinal Vincenti was responsible for guarding the relic, but he became mentally unstable, speaking of demonic creatures and secretive cults, which they attributed to dementia. Michael is taken aback by the disbelief of the priests in the teachings of the Bible itself. He demands to know Vincenti's whereabouts and learns that he now lives as a recluse in an asylum. Michael acquires the security footage and secures their promise to not tell a soul that they saw him. Afterward, Michael borrows a jacket and departs in Marconi's car, finding some medicine in the glove box to manage the pain caused by his celestial powers. Unbeknownst to him, a raven tails him throughout his journey. While the scientists at the villa diligently work on extracting Jesus' DNA from the shroud, Michael arrives at the asylum and meets Vincenti, who is armed and anxious. However, upon touching Michael, Vincenti senses that he is more than just a priest and believes him when he claims to be an angel. Vincenti is familiar with the old woman named Liz and proceeds to show Michael the villa constructed around the hellish portal, explaining that this asylum was established as a lookout point. According to the scriptures, Lucifer is prophesied to return one day, and to achieve this, he requires two ancient beasts with connections to both realms. One of them is the woman, evidently referring to Liz, and the other is known as the beast of the ground. Over the years, Lucifer's followers brought him children to possess, but those mortal bodies were inadequate to contain his power. This is why they stole the shroud. Their plan is to clone Jesus, as he possesses the only body strong enough for Lucifer to inhabit. Michael is disgusted by this revelation and vows to stop their sinister plot. In response, Vincenti drives Michael to the base of the Villa Mountain. Michael's presence in the vicinity causes his sword to react, granting Lucifer the means to pull on the chain, finally releasing himself from his imprisonment within the villa. The captive women strive to find a way to break free from their chains while engaging in conversation about their personal lives. Laura reveals the heartache of losing her husband and child to a drunk driver during their conversation. Laurent conducts tests and discovers that Laura is a perfect match, encouraging Liz to demand that he speed up the process. Subsequently, the nurses return to the cell to transport the girls, but the women attempt to defend themselves using their chains. Unfortunately, more nurses arrive and swiftly overpower them, taking Brenda and Laura to the surgery room. There, the doctors implant eggs fertilized with Jesus' DNA into the girls' uteri, and Liz emerges, introducing herself as an angel of the Lord, acknowledging Laura as the chosen one, inspired by her sketches of Lucifer back in the cathedral. Meanwhile, Vincenti escorts Michael to the entrance of a hidden cave that leads to the villa. Before parting ways, Vincenti notices the persistent raven following them and shoots it down before handing his weapon to Michael. Promptly, Michael ventures into the depths of the cave to fulfill his mission. Shortly after, Laura and Brenda are forced into wedding dresses and taken to a gathering of Lucifer's worshippers. They are then secured to a pillar as the beast of the ground arrives and places the girls inside a massive cage. This cage is then lowered into the protective well guarding the gateway to hell. Suddenly, a horde of demons materializes around the cage, restraining the women as Lucifer transforms and enters Brenda through her mouth. Despite Brenda's struggles, she eventually succumbs to the ordeal and dies. Lucifer departs her lifeless form and enters Laura instead, who remarkably survives the possession unharmed. Afterward, in a daze, Laura walks outside where Liz introduces her as the chosen one, leading her to a new glass cell furnished with a bed and a vital sign monitor. When Laura inquires about what is now inside her, Liz cryptically refers to it as a better Jesus. Meanwhile, Michael finally discovers a door within the cave tunnel and uses his firearm to shoot it open, granting him access to the villa. Despite sustaining a gunshot wound in his shoulder, Michael retaliates by incapacitating the guards and slips on a stolen uniform to blend in discreetly. Gaining entry to the laboratory with the shroud, Michael examines the security cameras to find Laura's whereabouts. Shortly after, Laurent enters the lab, but Michael swiftly pins him against the table and demands answers. Michael decides to ignite the gas canisters and use a flare to cause an explosion, creating a barrier between him and the approaching guards. The fire alarm blares throughout the building as Laura implores the nurse to release her. Suddenly, Michael arrives, knocking out the nurse as Laura embraces him. Believing Marconi is alive, Laura becomes distracted as Lucifer begins to communicate with him telepathically, taunting him about his newfound freedom. Misinterpreting Michael's anger, Laura grows fearful and flees, but he catches up to her and takes her into a room to protect her. While he attends to his bullet wound, Laura explains the torment they subjected her to, prompting Michael to decide to take her away to safeguard her. Liz witnesses them leaving and dispatches her henchmen after them. She kills one of the guards, intending to keep Laura unharmed. As Michael and Laura try to escape through the cave tunnel, They are hindered by the rapidly growing baby, causing Laura to feel unwell. The beast catches up to them and engages Michael in combat, ultimately defeating him. Liz and the henchmen recapture Laura, who threatens to harm the baby if they harm the priest. Meanwhile, Michael manages to free himself from the chains in the room but is severely weakened. He makes his way to the well and jumps into it just as the beast approaches. In hell, Michael fends off a demon attack but realizes his sword is missing. More demons arrive and use Lucifer's sword to imprison Michael, just as Lucifer had done to him years ago. Meanwhile, the baby continues to grow at a supernatural speed inside Laura. Liz claims that this baby will replace the one Laura lost, but she adamantly refuses to see them as the same. During an ultrasound scan, Laura witnesses the baby on the screen, and to her shock, the baby crawls out and roars at her. She wakes up realizing it was only a dream, with Liz sitting beside her, inquiring if Lucifer communicates with her. Laura remains silent, prompting Liz to recount the tale of Lucifer's rebellion against the tyrant they know as God. When Laura expresses her lack of interest, Liz slaps her, demanding respect. Liz promises to free Laura after she gives birth but insists on respect for now. Later, a group of kids discovers Michael on a rock in hell. These children are the failed sacrifices who have been surviving together. Michael assures them that he can take them home if they can locate a sword. However, demons interrupt their conversation and the kids scatter, leaving Michael frustrated. Back in the cell, Lucifer momentarily exits Laura's womb and enters her mind through her ear, presenting an irresistible offer. If Laura accepts him into her life, he will help her punish the man who murdered her family. Laura agrees, lying down on the bed and allowing Lucifer to take over the baby. Envisioning herself holding the child and having a baby once more, Liz observes this development and grows concerned about Laura becoming too powerful. Later, during a nurse's tests, Laura uses her newfound abilities to extinguish the lights and kill the nurse. She then encounters another nurse whom she viciously attacks until he perishes. Suddenly, Laura breaks free from Lucifer's influence, terrified by her actions, and decides she must eliminate the baby before it's too late. Lucifer pleads with Laura not to kill him, referring to her as mother, disregarding his voice. Laura dashes into a closet with guards in pursuit. After locking the door, she grabs a bottle of chlorine and battles against Lucifer's control to consume it. Laura begins retching and writhing in pain when Liz forcefully kicks down the door, reprimanding her for what she did to the baby. As Liz prepares to find a doctor, Laura's newfound powers enable her to slam the door shut and push Liz to the ground, vomiting on her face. It becomes evident that Lucifer has taken control of Laura's body, punishing Liz for her mistakes. Liz regrets not being the one to carry the baby, but Lucifer dismisses her pleas and issues new orders. After the birth, no one can be allowed to know what transpired here, meaning everyone must die. He is also concerned that Laura and the baby are forming a bond, necessitating Laura's death after the birth. Lauren arrives, but Lucifer strikes him as he pleads for help from the chlorine's effects. Subsequently, Laura's body is placed inside a healing pod, during which Lucifer temporarily departs her body and enters a demon. Held to taunt Michael, mocking his failure, the kids observe this exchange from the shadows, considering it evidence that Michael is actually on their side. After Lucifer leaves, Michael finally comprehends why God is permitting these events, and the kids come to his rescue. Though they cannot remove the demon sword from the chains, they find Michael's own sword. However, before they can give it to him, a group of demons approaches and offers freedom to the kids. For a moment, they hesitate but remember what they've learned, and decide to hand the sword to Michael, who temporarily regains his old form and eliminates the demons, promising to return for the kids. Michael returns to Earth in Marconi's body, retrieves the shroud, and returns to the main building. He knocks down a guard, acquires a weapon, and checks on Laura, only to have Lucifer's voice respond. Desperate to help, Michael begins pushing the pod to transfer it to another room, which a nurse witnesses. After securing the door, Michael opens the pod and attempts to explain to Laura that the baby isn't what she thinks. But Lucifer forces him away with a mighty roar. Lucifer manipulates Laura's body to stand above Michael and announces that her water has broken before releasing the liquid on the angel, causing severe burns. Michael attempts to flee, but Lucifer grabs him and positions him on Laura's lap, demanding to be worshipped. When Michael refuses, Lucifer uses Laura's fingers to stab his neck, but Michael remains steadfast and shares the revelation he reached. God is permitting these events because if Lucifer enters Jesus' holy body, Jesus will control and seal him forever. Enraged, Lucifer throws a tantrum, inadvertently knocking out Michael. When Liz arrives with the guards, Lucifer asks her to kill the baby. However, Liz assumes Laura is talking and orders the guards to take her to the altar on top of the well to hell. Laura gives birth to the baby, and Liz immediately takes him away. Left alone atop the well, the beast opens the lid, causing Laura to fall before joining the others outside. Liz presents their new savior to Lucifer's followers, announcing he will be baptized with blood instead of water. The beast proceeds to slaughter every follower, doctor, and guard. Laurent is shocked but relieved to be spared. However, after he kisses the baby's head, the beast kills him as well. Meanwhile, Michael regains consciousness, breaks the window with his weapon, and escapes the room. He enters the well room, finding Laura hanging on the edge, and helps her up before they join forces to confront their enemy. Liz is about to leave with the baby in a car, but Laura attacks her, demanding the child. Liz pleads for no harm to Lucifer, and Michael explains that the baby is not Lucifer. Instead, God chose Laura. She has given birth to what will become Lucifer's eternal prison. Laura takes the car and departs to find Vincenti, while Michael stays to fight since the gates to hell are now open, and demons will try to escape. Michael hurries to the well and closes it before being confronted by the beast, who hurls him aside to begin reopening the well. Michael discovers the explosives Liz left behind to erase evidence and activates them, causing an explosion that destroys the facility and conceals the hole beneath the debris. Sometime later, Vincenti takes Laura and the baby to the cathedral, returning the shroud. Michael returns to hell to fulfill his promise and free all the kids. Years pass, and Laura resides with Vincenti in the asylum to protect the now healthy and grown child. One day, Liz secretly observes the family in the forest and calls for Lucifer. However, when Lucifer attempts to escape, the child absorbs him back into his body, keeping him sealed.